Good morning, students. Good morning to all. And last day we have studied about the elasticity of demand and the determinants of elasticity of demand and some of the measurement of elasticity of demand. And we have completed the concept of elasticity of demand. So today also just we will remind what we have studied on yesterday and we will go to the new concept. So yesterday we have studied the determinants of elasticity of demand. The elasticity of demand also will be there. But what are the determinants are there to determining the elasticity of demand mean? First one is availability of substitute. So availability of substitute. If close substitutes are available for a product, then the demand for that product tends to be very elastic, right? Now we are going to the market and many substitute commodities are there. If any of the price of commodity is increased, suddenly we will select the substitute commodity, right? So if the price of that product increases, buyers will buy its substitutes only. The best example, the tea and coffee. The price of that commodity, the price of that tea is increased and the price of that coffee is just normal or reasonable mean. When the price of increasing the tea, we will go to the coffee because the availability of substitutes are there. If the availability of substitutes are more, the price will be, so the demand of the commodity will be elastic. Otherwise, it will not be elastic. The hence fall in its demand will be very large. Hence price elasticity will be large. Okay, so example, the tea and coffee and the vegetables. Suppose for salt, if you are considering the salt has no close substitutes. Okay, there is no substitutes goods for the salt. Hence, even if price of salt increase, the fall in demand may be 0 or less. Hence, salt is price inelastic. Even the price of that salt is increased very higher, we must need of salt by use cookings. Then the price elasticity of demand for that salt will be inelastic. Next, proportions of consumers' income. Proportions of consumers' income spent on any of the commodity. A smaller proportion of consumers' income is spent on particular commodity, the price elasticity of demand for that commodity will be smaller. We will take the same example. So the people always spend some amount of the money only to purchasing the salt. So that even the price of that salt is increased, we will never spend more amount on purchasing the salt. Okay, suppose if you are purchasing more amount or half of our full income is going to the purchasing on salt, so the price will be inelastic. Okay, but just we will spend very little bit of poor proportions in our income only we will spend on purchasing the salt. Okay, so the price of the price elasticity of salt, the price elasticity of demand in salt is inelastic. Next, number of uses of commodity. The number of uses of one's commodity also will be determining the elasticity of demand. If a commodity is used for greater number of users, its price elasticity will also be larger. For example, milk is used as buttermilk, curd, ghee, and for making ice cream, etc. Hence only, even the small fall in the price of milk will tempt the consumers to use more milk for many purposes, because we will never worrying about we will never enjoying the fall in price of that milk, because even if the price of the milk is reduced abundantly, we can use the milk for more purposes. Okay, suppose if the milk will be used for making the mere milk or tea only, we will never buy the milk more when the price of milk is reduced. But we can use the milk for more purposes. So even if the demand for that milk is not or zero, we will purchasing the more milk. Hence, milk has greater price elasticity of demand. Even the little bit of fall in the price of milk, we will buy some more milk. Next, complementarity between goods. So, along with the petrol, lubricating oil is also used for running automobiles. So, if you are taking the automobiles industries, so the petrol and lubricating and some of the engine oil also will be used. Okay, here a rise in the price of lubricating oil may not reduce the demand for lubricating oil. Because if you want to operate the automobile machines, we must need all the complementary items. Okay, for example, if you want to riding the bicycle, we need oil and the petrol. Okay, here the petrol price is not increased, and in the same time the price of the oil is increased. So the demand for that oil will never decrease because we must in need of demand for that oil. So the price elasticity of demand will be inelastic in this oil also. Okay, so the complementarity between goods also will be determining the elasticity of demand. Next is time. So the time is also one of the most important determinants of elasticity of demand. So in this time we can consider the two types of time, the long run and the short run. The long run mean we can consider that 2 or 5 years. Short run mean within a 1 month, within a day or within a week. If any of the demand for commodity is increased or the price for that commodity is increased in a short period, we will never bring out the substitute for that commodities. So in the short period, so the elasticity will be more. But in the long run, so many chances are there to bring out the substitutes commodity and increasing the supply of commodities. Because of that, the elasticity of price demand will be zero in long period. It will be greater in short period. Okay, then availability of substitutes, proportion of consumers' income spent, number of uses of commodities, next complementarity between goods and the time. The 5 factors are the determinants of elasticity of demand. Okay students, next the importance of elasticity of demand. So when we are finding the elasticity of demand is higher or lower, whether maybe, but what is the important, what is the benefit of finding out the elasticity of demand? So by finding the elasticity of demand will be helpful to more reasons. First one is the price fixations. If the price in these price fixations, the elasticity of demand is very influential factors. So each seller under monopoly and imperfect competitions. So monopoly competitions mean monopoly market mean the single buyer only will be there. Okay, so the imperfect competitions mean so many buyers will be there, but they will produce the same type of the product. Okay, so this is the difference between the monopoly market and the imperfect competitions market. But each seller under monopoly and imperfect competition has to take into account elasticity of demand while fixing in the price for his product. So normally not only the monopoly and the imperfect competitions market. So in all type of the market, the price fixation is very much important for earning more profit, right? By earning more profit, in which basis they have to fixing the price of that commodity means if a commodity has the more elasticity of demand, they will decrease the price of commodity. Suppose if the price elasticity of demand is inelastic, they will fixing more. For example, the monopoly market. In this monopoly market, if there is no more elasticity of demand, mean he will fixing the reasonable price. If the demand for that commodity is inelastic, mean the monopolist will fixing the higher price. Because in this monopolist market, he only has the right to fixing the price of his commodity. Okay, even in the, under the perfect competitions and the imperfect competitions market also, the price will be fixing by the owners. Okay, suppose if the elasticity of demand is inelastic, the demand for that commodity is inelastic, so in the monopolist and some of the sellers also will be fixing the higher. Okay, so in this price fixations of commodity on the basis of elasticity of demand only, they will fixing the price for their commodities. Next, production. Already we have studied on the basis of the demand only, the producers will be produce more commodity. Okay, then when the producers are being the trouble and doubt to which amount have to produce, mean they can consider the elasticity of demand. So the producers generally decide their production level on the basis of the demand for the product. If the demand for any commodity is more elastic, maybe in short run or long run, so the producer will produce more commodities. Okay, then the producers also will have the idea to producing on that amount. Next, distributions. So the elasticity of demand also helps in the determinations of rewards for the factor of productions. So the factor of productions will get the reward in the form of rent, profit, salaries, right? But when the factor of productions going to get the reward, the elasticity of demand also on the basis of the elasticity of demand also they will get. Okay, suppose if the demand for that any of commodity is more elastic, so the more factor of productions will be needed to produce more commodities. Okay, then all the factors on the machines will get the more reward when the price of that or when the demand for that commodity is more elastic. If the demand for that any of commodities inelastic, so the all the factor of productions will get the reasonable rewards only. Next, international trade. The elasticity of demand helps in finding out the terms of trade between two countries. The terms of trade depends upon the elasticity of demand for the goods and the two countries. So not only the two countries, even in our local market and even in our internal trade, on the basis of demand or the basis of elasticity of demand only, they will produce. Okay, so whenever the producers are going to produce more commodity to satisfy the domestic market, so like that the international trade also will be determined on the basis of elasticity of demand. If the elasticity of demand for one commodity is more in any of the nations, so they will import more commodities. Okay, so that time so the export nations will be increasing the export. Okay, if there is no demand for any of the commodities or the elasticity of demand for any of commodity is inelastic mean, so the nations will not import. Okay, so the international trade also will be determining on the basis of elasticity of demand only. Next, public finance. So elasticity of demand helps the government in formulating tax policies. For example, for imposing tax on a commodity. So normally the government will imposing the new types of tax on any of the commodities. In which basis the government will imposing the new tax, or is that government will be increasing the tax for any of the commodity mean? Which commodities has more elasticity of demand? So the government will fixing higher tax on that commodity. Okay, so when the governments are imposing the higher tax for the more commodities which has more elasticity of demand, they will get some additional profit or additional income. So the public finance also will be decided by the elasticity of demand. Next, nationalization. So the concept of elasticity of demand enables the government to decide over nationalization of industries. So some of the industries only will be produce more commodities and which has the more elasticity of demand. Okay, suppose if this process is going on like so, the government will be taking that industry as a nationalized. So if any of the industries want to become as a nationalized by the government, so the elasticity of demand only will be determined, or on the basis of elasticity of demand only it will become as a nationalized one. Okay, so the 6 points are the importance of elasticity of demand. So to fixing the price and to determining the production level and distributing the remunerations for the factor of productions. Next, by international trade and in public finance and in nationalization, the elasticity of demand is helpful more. Okay, students. Next concept is indifference curve analysis. Indifference curve analysis. The two economists, the F.W. Edgeworth is the English economist and Wilfred Pareto is the Italian economist. So the two economists criticized the cardinal utility approach. We have studied the meaning of cardinal utility approach mean. So the utility will be measured by the unit wise 1, 2 and 3. So the two unit of utility the persons are enjoyed when they are consuming any of the commodities. We have studied, So if the utility is measured by the number, that's called cardinal utility approach. Okay, but the Edwards and the Wilfred Pareto, the two economists, also criticized the cardinal utility approach. So what criticized means? So the utility will never measured by the cardinal as the unit wise. Okay, but they assumed that utility cannot be measured absolutely, but can be compared or ranked or ordered by ordinal numbers. Ordinal numbers mean such as a Roman letter 1, 2, 3, So like that we can order in which order or in which rank. So if you are getting more mark, you will get the first rank. When you have the first rank, you will enjoy more satisfaction. You will get more satisfaction. That is called ordinal approach. Okay, so first on the basis of cardinal utility approach, we have studied the utility will be measured by the unit wise. So 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit we have studied in this cardinal approach. So on the controversy of cardinal utility approach, the R.D. Allen and their Hicks provide one of the approach, ordinal approach. So Edgeworth, F.W. Edgeworth is the first developed a more scientific approach to the study of consumer behavior known as indifference curve approach. So when we are studying the consumer behavior or the utility of the consumer behavior is observed by the indifference curve approach in 1881. After that, in 1906, Wilfred Pareto modified the Edgeworth approach. So again, J.R. Hicks and R.G.D. Allen refined the indifference curve approach in 1934. So later in 1939, J.R. Higgs in his book have a final shape to the indifference curve analysis. The book name is Value and Capital. So J.R. Higgs in his book Value and Capital give the final shape to this indifference curve analysis. So the indifference curve analysis also based on the scale of preference. Scale of preference means, for example, when we are going to purchasing any of the commodity, we can have the two chances. Okay, so when we are going to purchasing any two commodity only. Okay, so mostly we will go to the market for purchasing more commodities, but the indifference curve analysis only will be explaining the satisfaction amount of purchasing when only two commodities. Okay, so this theory is also based on the scale of preference. Okay, when you are going to the market to purchasing any two commodities, we will have the many preference will be there. For example, if they are going to purchasing the commodity, so the apple and orange, so we can have the preference 2 kilo apple and 1 kilo orange, or 1 kilo apple and 2 kilo orange, and 5 kilo apple and 2 kilo orange. Okay, so the more preference will be there. Even if you are purchasing any of the preference of amount in commodities, we will get the same satisfaction, right? A rational consumer usually prefers the combination of goods which gives him maximum level of satisfaction. As a rational consumers, when they are going to consuming any of the commodities, he will always think to get more satisfaction with a lower cost. Normally, when we are going to the market, when we want to consuming any of the commodities, we want to get more satisfaction with the low cost of spending amount, right? So thus the consumer can arrange goods and their combinations in order of their satisfaction. When the utility is not measured on the ordinal, not measured on the cardinal method. If you want to measuring our utility method, we have the chance. We can arrange the orders. First A and B or C are the Roman letters 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so within Roman letter first one, we will think our utility is very small, and in second, so that our satisfaction will be increased better than the first. So like that we can arrange our satisfaction in the order. Such an arrangement of combinations of good in the order of level of satisfaction is called scale of preference. So if you are arranging the combinations of good in the order of level of satisfactions, so that arrangement is called as a scale of preference. So by explaining these ordinal method, so we must adopting some of the assumptions. The consumer is a rational and his aim is to derive maximum satisfaction. Okay, so all the rationalized consumer will want to consume any of the commodities, or whenever he want to going to consuming any of the commodities, he want to get more satisfactions on these commodities. Okay, next, the utility cannot be cardinally measured but can be ranked or compared and ordered by ordinal number such as 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 means the Roman letter 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there is no unit to measuring the utility. So next, that indifference curve approach is based on the concept of diminishing marginal rate of substitutions. So diminishing marginal rate of substitutions mean, so when there is two commodities, substitute goods, when the price of the tea is increased, so we will go to consuming the coffee. Okay, but when we are going to consuming the coffee also will be diminishing. Only for the higher price only we will consuming the coffee instead of tea. Okay, but in course of time we will get the boredom to using the coffee, then automatically we will go to the tea without worrying about the price of commodities. Okay, so the diminishing marginal rate of substitutions only the indifference curve will be approved. Next, the consumer is consistent. This assumption is called as the assumptions of transitivity. Transitivity means, so normally we will want to get the more satisfactions. Okay, but if the satisfaction, if you are thinking the satisfaction will give more on any of the other preferences, we will select the other preferences which has the more satisfaction. Next, the indifference schedule. An indifference schedule may be defined as a schedule of various combinations of two commodities which will give the same level of satisfactions. When we are purchasing or when we want to consuming any two commodities in any combinations, so all the combinations will give the same satisfactions. So in other words, indifference schedule is a table which shows the different combinations of two goods that gives equal satisfaction to the consumers. So by the way of having the schedule, if we find out the different type of the combinations of two goods that gives equal satisfaction to the consumers, that is called as a indifference schedule. Indifference schedule means the satisfaction level will never as a different. So the satisfaction of consuming any two commodities will be the same in any combinations of curve. Okay students, today I think it's enough. So tomorrow we will go to the next concept. So within next class we will complete our lessons. Okay, then take your today's study portions, importance of elasticity of demand. And if you have any doubt, please ask me. I will tell you. Thank you.